Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome everyone to special edition of the show. Want to just take the time to say thank you to all the men and women who have sacrificed and done things for their country, whether that country be the United States or Australia, Canada, Great Britain, France, even Germany. Like, they fought for what they thought was right, even if they were on the wrong side of history. So I think it's important that we commemorate days like this and learn a little bit about them. So let's say hello to everyone, and then we'll get into it. For those who don't know, it is 6/6/2023. So it is the 79th anniversary of D-Day. I hate using the word anniversary because I feel like the word anniversary should be a joyous occasion, and this was horrific on all counts. This was a tough thing to be a part of, and the people that stormed that beach are unrivaled and unmatched. Really a lot of respect for them. So let's say hello and we'll get into it. Big giant fuck. What's up, Dazzer? I was only a minute late. I was a minute late. What's up, Sean? Hey, dog mama. Yeah, I thought about that for a little bit, but I thought it was appropriate. Well, you have a different opinion of this, but I think there are many enemies, and some that we have yet to defeat, and we'll do our damn best to make it better. So, for those who don't know, D-Day was the storming of the beaches in Normandy, France, to push back the Nazis and move them. Yes, remembrance. That's much better. To push back the Germans and retake France and start pushing Germany back. Many people have different opinions, but I think if the Germans wouldn't have went into Russia, they probably would have continued their march for quite some time. And allied countries around the world sacrificed men and all kinds of things to be able to take back the countries. So, oh, sorry, Dazzer, Remembrance Day, perfect. Sorry, buddy. So 1944, we're in the middle of World War II, and to be truthful, the Allied forces are getting their ass kicked. They're getting their ass completely handed to them at this point. It's they're being overtaken and beat at every single turn. So the United States, along with its British partners and contributions from Canada, and several other smaller contributing nations, started taking it back, or a plan to take it back. So it started off with Exercise Tiger. It started before then. There was always this is how we do it. This is the plan moving forward. So I'm not gonna cry. Not gonna cry. To any, maybe when the other gentleman talks, but we'll get to that. So a brief overview, and then we'll go into one of the gentlemen that is still alive and and talks about his experience, and then we'll go into a little bit more of the assaults and the different things. So, no, I'm good. But I appreciate the offer, my friend. So this really got fired up even before April 22nd, but in April 22nd, 1944, they began Exercise Tiger, a rehearsal for D-Day. This was a hell of a plan. Like, looking back on it, the entire operation, it was a crackpot idea that worked out. So like I said, this is just a brief overview. Around 6:30 a.m., American forces land at Omaha Beach, and like I said, we'll go over this in more detail. This is one of those topics that we could literally talk about for 5, 6, maybe 10 shows, but I'm going to try and put it all into one. About an hour later, British and French forces land at Sword Beach in Operation Overlord. So the entire operation was Operation Overlord, and that was kind of the way to start taking it back. About 10 minutes later, British forces land at Gold Beach, and we'll look at some maps. We might. Please don't ask. He's trolling. About a half an hour after that, Canadian and British forces land at Juneau. Then we get the Brecourt Manor assault, and that kind of takes us through the first day of most of it. And like I said, it's more in detail. This was just a good 1,000-foot overview of what was going on. So I want to play a quick video of one of the individuals that gave an interview, a 98-year-old veteran. And he gave an interview this morning to the press. So we'll watch this real quick. Looks damn good for 98.
Distinguished guests, fellow veterans, especially the frontline infantrymen and some of my companions over here. I was an infantry machine gunner, part of General George Patton's famous Third Army in the foxhole just outside of Bastogne, Belgium, in what became known as the Battle of the Bulge. Let me take you back about 79 years. We were just getting ready to jump off in an attack on a strong German position. The temperature's about 10 below zero, a foot or so of snow on the ground. German artillery is blasting our position. The ground is heaving up and down with the violence of the explosions. Trees are splintering and crashing to the ground. The shrapnel is slicing into soldiers' flesh. Rifle and machine gun fire splits the air. The sound is deafening and overwhelming. We are the machine gun section of what is left of an infantry company of the 87th Infantry Division, part of General George Patton's famous Third Army. Hardly more than boys, most of us 18, 19, 20 years old. Within about 10 yards of our position were the bodies of 3 of my comrades, men that I can never forget, Finn, West, Porzio, half buried in the snow and frozen in the 10 below zero weather. An image that still serves my mind after 79 years. There were to be many more before this war was over. My machine gun squad was now down to 2. For the most part, we were children of the 20s, citizen soldiers, draftees, and volunteers. Young men, Raised during the Great Depression, we did not experience the carefree days of childhood. Summoned by the call to arms, especially the sneak attack on Pearl Harbor, we came from across the land, from the farms and the schools and the factories, from the sidewalks of New York to the shores of San Francisco we came. Resourceful, tough, and tempered as hard as steel in the crucible of the Great Depression, these men were as tough as the times in which we were raised. These are the men who made up the fighting strength of the divisions, carried out the orders of the generals, engaged the Germans in mortal combat. These are the men you see here before you. It may be hard to believe, but we were once young and strong. The Battle of the Bulge started on the early morning of December the 16th, 1944, when 3 German armies, about 500,000 men, attacked what was basically 4 American divisions, about 50,000 men, in the Ardennes area of Belgium and Luxembourg. They covered a front of about 75 to 80 miles. These units were outnumbered over 10 to 1 by the massive German assault. The weather was ideal from the German point of view, snow and fog. The American Air Force was almost useless.
I agree, Dog
The early
Mo.
morning
100%.
stillness of the fog-shrouded forest was suddenly shattered with a thunderclap of a massive artillery barrage landing on the Americans. The onslaught had begun. We were dry-mouthed and our guts churned with fear as masses of German troopers, dressed in greatcoats, emerged through the veil of the early morning fog and mist and charged towards them like men possessed. Low in their foxholes, the GIs prayed to the Lord and opened fire with their rifles and machine guns at the overwhelming Nazi assault. We knew that feeling of utter exhaustion, the inability of our flesh and blood to continue on, yet we must continue or die. We knew firsthand the violent pounding of the heart, the cold sweat, the trembling of the body, and the stark terror that mortal combat brings. It was a hell that had to be endured, and we endured it. There is no way to convey to you the agony, the misery of frontline infantry combat. Even nature was our enemy, with bitterly cold, often below zero weather. The ground was frozen solid, the skies were gray, the days were short with daylight at 8 and darkness by 4. The nights were long and frigid and snow covered the battlefield. GIs, their bodies numb, were blue-lipped and chilled to the bone. Only a very few of us had proper winter clothing. We very rarely had a chance to be inside a house. We were outside in the zero weather 24 hours a day, day after day, without relief. These are the soldiers who, when their officers and sergeants lay dead, held the enemy at bay in the days when the heavens were falling and the battlefield was in flame with all the fire and noise humanly possible for over 1 million warriors to create. For a brief moment in history, these men held our nation's destiny in their hands. We did not fail. The assault pushed the defending Americans back, but they made the Germans pay dearly for the ground that they gained. Our army suffered an average of 500 men killed and 1,000 men wounded every day for the over 6 weeks that the Bulge lasted. And that was just in the Bulge area, not the rest of Europe or the Pacific. How I ever survived that slaughter and kept my sanity, I will never know. That I had a strong faith in God and in my Catholic faith certainly helped, although much of what we did was completely alien to those teachings. The killings were the worst. Almost every day, one or more of us would be killed, and every day we would kill Germans. After a while, you became almost numb to it. If you dwelled on it and thought about it, you would probably go crazy. One of the worst things was that even a fairly minor wound could be fatal. The temperature was still down around zero, and if someone was immobilized, they would often freeze to death before help could get to them. The Battle of the Bulge lasted until early February 1945. More than 1 million men participated in this battle. It was to become the greatest and bloodiest battle ever fought by the United States Army. But the cost of victory was high. There in the Ardennes, on that cold, brutal field of battle, 19,000 young Americans answered the angel's trumpet call and had their rendezvous with death. 19,000. Purple Hearts were awarded by the thousands. The Battle of the Bulge cost the American Army about 90,000 casualties, about 19,000 killed in action, 20,000 taken prisoner, and about 50,000 were wounded. When we left the Bulge, I left many friends there. Our machine gun section, which started out with 12 men, was now down to 4. We had 5 killed and 3 badly wounded. Our company was badly decimated, down to about 40 men left from 200. We received replacements and continued our fight through the Siegfried Line, amphibious assaults across the Moselle and then the Rhine rivers under the leadership of General George Patton, all the way across Germany to Czechoslovakia, where we met the Russian army. What we did, what we experienced, represents the love of our country, the love of our religious faith, the love of our fellow citizens, and our love of freedom. We saw what a lack of love and a lack of freedom could do. We saw the concentration camps. We saw the prisoner of war camps. I was involved in the liberation of Buchenwald concentration camp, one of the largest and Ohrdruf concentration camp. We saw the bodies stacked like cordwood. Bodies were still being burned in the ovens. We saw the inmates lay starved skeletons, too weak to move. We saw the vile inhumanity of man against man. Tears still well in my eyes. I remember all the friends that I lost in the fields, towns, and cities of Europe. Not only on Memorial Day or Veterans Day, but many times every day. Why them and not me? Did someone else take the bullet intended for me? I got hit 3 times, but only very minor flesh wounds. I only know that God took them at 18, 19, 20 years of age and has allowed me to reach my 98th year, and I thank him for it every day. My grandchildren sometimes ask, "Were you a hero in the war, Poppy?" My answer is no, but I was in a company of heroes. Ask yourselves now, with heads bowed, from where, O God, came such men as these? The warriors of the greatest generation, a generation that is taking their final curtain calls of over 1,000 men a day, and soon we all will have left. This country was truly blessed. The Ardennes woods are silent now. The battle smoke has fled. 70 years and 9 have passed. Now only memories and the dead. May God bless you. May God bless America and our troops serving around the world. Thank you.
The things that man did for his country, for his people, for his brothers in arms. it's nothing short of spectacular. It's a somber moment because we lost a lot of good men, and I think of in the context of today, and you see these whiny bitches that whine and cry about a pronoun, and you're like, can you even imagine? And that's one of the things. We're 80 years away almost. We're 79 years away, and people lose sight of how hell war is and how hell things like this are. Incredibly brave man, and just thank you for your story, and thank you for all you did. So, yeah, I was waiting. Piers was talking to me before the show, and he said I was in the 50th anniversary of D-Day ceremony in England. There were tons of vets there. It was a humbling experience. Absolutely. Absolutely. Biden is a potato. That's fine, Chenny. Go over and hang out with Steve. What's up, Froggy? Yep. Fire, I gave you a notification in person, baby. What's up, Tweety? Yeah, they're awesome at it. So, absolutely. What's up, Jacob? Yeah. Yep. Ooh, that doesn't seem comfy. Well, it's appreciated. So yeah, I just wanted to certainly, let that man speak, because no matter what I say today, or no matter how much passion I can put behind my speech, like, I can never even come close to knowing what that man went through. And we thank him, and we're proud he's one of us. And that's where the patriotism comes from, and I think that's part of why we lost it so much, is because we haven't had to go through trials and tribulations like that. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's some of the thing, is way too comfortable for way too long. But let's try and give them at least some due, at least what I'm capable of. What's up, Beaver on Rumble? Sorry, I did hit 1K. That's also big news, but I don't want to distract from them. But I did hit 1K, and I thank you all very much. So let's get into a little bit of this. This is from the D-Day story in Portsmouth. I don't know if you call it England or the United Kingdom, but one or the other. I think it's one or both. So the paper basically says Eisenhower was named leader of the Second Front. England is a country in the United Kingdom. Okay. See, I truly don't know. Oh, shit. He hit the 1K. Okay. Earlier today is like 20 away. Oh, awesome. Well, congrats to Steve, too. He is well deserving of it. Awesome. I'll have to congratulate Steve as well. After. Sorry, I misread that. I was trying to. So this is something that was dropped over German-occupied France in December of 1943. So Eisenhower was a military leader, and then became president. They were trying to instill that we were in the war, and we had a military guy at the helm, and we were going to change the tide. So it's all part of the propaganda. So this is a much more in-depth, more detailed from the D-Day story Portsmouth. Really good resource. I'll drop it in Discord so you guys can have it if you want. But there was a lot of this, a lot of the propaganda. This is from Poland first to fight, and this is in 1939. Second World War begins as Britain and France declare war on Germany following Germany's invasion of Poland. Poland defeat by Germany is followed by the phony war over the winter of 1939-1940, as neither Germany nor Britain and France launches a major attack. So it just kind of sat idle. There was tensions, a little bit of fighting, but 1940, Germany invasion of France, Belgium, Holland, Norway, and Denmark. These countries were rapidly defeated by Germany after offensives known as Blitzkrieg, meaning lightning war, due to the speed of the attacks. And that's something that the Nazis and Hitler, with their firepower. Hey, what's up, Jude? With their firepower and kind of their tactic was to just take it quickly. They just rolled in, took it, and it was over. It worked really well for them. So then we go to June 4th, 1940. Thousands of British and some French troops are evacuated back to the UK from Dunkirk and other ports. So my vice principal in high school was tattooed as a newborn and rescued by U.S. Army members in 1943. Great man, taught me how to drive. The hell his family went through is unimaginable. Yes. And people you talk to may or may not sound like. Pretty much. So they started evacuating and really abandoning the continent of Europe, leaving the United Kingdom as the last stand. And yeah, so October 1940, during the Battle of Britain, the German Air Force, the Luftwaffe, tries and fails to dominate the British Royal Air Force. The RAF's defeat would have enabled the Germans to invade Britain. And then with the current with the technologies, we probably would have been screwed at the time. If they would have taken the United Kingdom, there wouldn't have been much the United States could have done. Shock and awe campaigns they are very effective. The Air Force did a fantastic job holding off the Germans. September 7th, 1940 to May 11, 1941. Unable to launch an invasion by sea, Germany conducts the Blitz, a series of heavy bombing attacks on Britain's cities. So they just start bombing the shit out of them. 22nd of June, 1941, Germany invades her former ally, the Soviet Union, which consequently becomes Britain's ally. This begins a bloody struggle on the Eastern Front, which continues until the end of the war in 1945. So, like I said, they, in my opinion, in the opinion of many people that study it heavily, them invading Russia and having to deal with the weather and the unfamiliarity of it. um, yeah, continues till the end of the war in 1945. That was probably his biggest misstep. So then we go forward to they did fucked up. They absolutely did. Hey, Imp, good to see you. December 7th, 1941, Japan attacks the U.S. fleet at Pearl Harbor, inflicting serious damage and involving the U.S. directly in the Second World War. Germany later declares war on the USA, bringing America into the war with Europe. No, you're totally fine. His family's hiding in a barn where his 2 other babies were eaten by field rats. Holy hell. Which caused them to be found by a German death squad. Wow. Damn, AP. Oh no, I was also curious, so I figured it was something from a camp, but I didn't know any of the other. So that's what brought the United States into it. That was probably ultimately another misstep. I don't know that Hitler had much to do with that. Maybe he did. I'm sure you could go a million different ways with that one. And I appreciate it, buddy. So then we go December 22nd, 1941 to 14 January 1942. At the Washington Conference, Britain and the U.S. agreed to strategy of Europe first. In other words, that they will concentrate on the defeat of Germany before turning to deal with Japan. This begins the train of events that would lead to D-Day. Oh, shit. Oh, never mind. So short guide. So U.S. troops in Britain were issued with this guide to help them understand the country and the wartime experiences of the British people. That could be cool. Again, I think that they did a damn good job. I've never heard of this particular group before, but I think they do a fantastic job. So here's maps and basically, albeit most of it probably propaganda, let's be honest, but I think it's pretty cool. So a farthing is a half penny or a quarter penny, half penny, penny, 3 pence. Huh. A crown is 5 shillings. Wow, I'm confused already. A shilling or a bob? Huh. Okay. It absolutely is. Never criticize the king or queen. Don't criticize the food, beer, or cigarettes to the British. Remember, they've been at war since 1939. Use common sense on all occasions. By your conduct, you have great power to bring about a better understanding between the two countries after the war is over. You will soon find yourself among kindly, quiet, hardworking people who have been living under the strain such as few people in the world will ever know. In your dealings with them, let this be your slogans. It is always impolite to criticize your host. It is militarily stupid to criticize your allies. Huh. It's like an American to British translation. I'm going to keep this. So that's a pretty cool little artifact. They seem to have several of those. Operation Bolero, the buildup of U.S. forces in Britain begins in preparation for D-Day. I think you're talking about a different thing. Well, I can't. Yeah, that makes it make sense then. Yep. It's better to talk about it than it is to cover it up and act like it didn't happen. German propaganda leaflet in English shows images of wounded troops and wrecked tanks at Dieppe. The Allied raid on the French coastal town of Dieppe, using mainly Canadian troops, is repulsed with heavy casualties. The raid graphically illustrates how difficult the Allied invasion of Europe would be. Well, that's pretty. Sent his bracelet to his daughter Patricia. The Second Battle of El Alamein is won by the British 8th Army under General Montgomery. It is the first stage in defeating the German forces in North Africa. So they DC might suck, but they have some good museums that are good places to go see a lot of things. So the Germans were spreading out to North Africa as well. They were trying to take it all. 8th of November 1942, the Operation Torch landings began in North Africa. American and British forces land in Morocco and Algeria, commanded by General Eisenhower. The Allies chose to fight the German forces in North Africa because they were not yet ready to launch D-Day. And probably there was probably some psychological games going on there that they could beat them. There was also, I mean, hell, it was probably a training ground. Hey, Barb. I've never seen it. I don't know why you're shocked, but maybe we should. So there's plenty of reasons to fight the Germans somewhere else. You learn tactics, you learn all kinds of different things, and you're able to do it without the attempt at failure. It's kind of like a practice run. That I have not. I have not seen a lot of movies generally. 14th of January to the 24th of January 1943, at the Casablanca Conference, the Allies agreed that the conditions are not right for D-Day to take place in 1943. Instead, the Allies will capture Sicily. They decided to form an Anglo-American staff to begin the detailed planning of D-Day. I haven't watched that one either. So you see, it's starting to already come together. They're saying, yeah, we're probably gonna need more time. It's not gonna happen this year. This was not a war that was going to be over in a day, a year. They knew this was a long haul war. Hitler had taken a lot of territory in Western Europe, and they were. Didn't I just say Anglo? I might have said Angelo. Anglo-American staff. Is that right? What? Never mind. Better, you said Angelo. Okay. Sorry. Apologies. An Anglo-American staff, better, is formed under the command of British Lieutenant General Morgan to develop a plan for landing in occupied Europe. He's given the title of Cossack, Chief of Staff, Supreme Allied Commander. The Supreme Allied Commander has not yet been appointed. So the commander wasn't there, but they're building the staff underneath of him. No, I mean, and there were atrocities on both sides for sure. And a lot of things that could have been done differently. But 9 July 1943, Operation Husky, the Allies land in Sicily, Italy surrenders during the campaign and joins the Allies. So, again, for those who don't know, it was the Nazis in Germany, it was Russia, it was Italy and Japan, versus mainly the West. And there were a lot of countries in between that weren't quite involved, but kind of involved. And to be honest, the continent of Europe was completely getting their ass handed to them until the United States jumped in. So they were certainly, the United Kingdom was holding their own, but the United States really did turn the tide of the war as much shit as Dazzler wants to give me. 17th of August to the 24th of August, 1943. At the Quebec Conference, the Allies adopt Cossack's outline plan for D-Day. Air Marshal Sir Trafford Lee Mallory is appointed commander of the Allied Expeditionary Air Force. September 3rd, 1943. Operation Baytown, the Allied landings on mainland Italy, begins. We sent a lot of meat bags too. 25 October 1943. I tend to agree with that too. We were going to enter anyways. People just didn't have the appetite for it. We had just gotten out of one, and they didn't really want to go back. 25 October 1943, British Admiral Sir Bertram Ramsay is appointed the Allied naval commander for D-Day. Earlier in the war, Ramsay had commanded the evacuation from Dunkirk. So familiar with kind of the general area. In November of 1943, construction work begins at various points around the English coasts on the first sections of the Mulberry Harbors. These two artificial harbors will be made in huge sections from steel and concrete. After D-Day, they will be towed over to Normandy and assembled off the Gold and Omaha beaches. The Mulberry Harbors will enable the Allies to land troops and equipment at a faster rate than possible. straight onto the beaches. I know a little bit about Cannibal Island. Huh. Maybe I have to pick that up. 21 November 1943, Field Marshal Erwin Rommel is given responsibility for improving the German defenses on the French coast, which the Allies will have to overcome on D-Day, including minefields, obstacles to sink landing craft, and pillboxes. He's later appointed commander of the German Army Group B in France. So now we yeah. Yep. I don't X'd it out. X'd it out. Yeah, that sucks, man. Uh, 28 November 1943, 1 December 1943. The British, American, and Soviet leaders Winston Churchill, Franklin Roosevelt, and Joseph Stalin meet together for the first time at the Tehran Conference. Stalin urgently wants to know what the Allies, or when the Allies will land in France to aid the Soviets. Soviet armies fighting on the Eastern Front. Churchill and Roosevelt tell him that the planned date is May 1944. Later, the date moves to June 1944 so that the Allies had time to reassemble larger forces. Discussions are also held on related matters such as planned Allied landings in the south of France, which eventually take place in August 1944. So, I don't know that if Stalin just joined the team, if I would have been giving him that kind of information on such a critical thing, but they did. So, day before Christmas, 1943, U.S. General Dwight D. Eisenhower is finally appointed as Supreme Allied Commander and overall charge of Operation Overlord, which again is the entirety of the operation. So, General Sir Bernard Montgomery Monty is appointed to command 21st Army Group with responsibility for all Allied ground troops and the assault landings on D-Day and the following ground fighting. Earlier in the war, Montgomery had fought and beaten Rommel's forces in North Africa. So that practice thing I was talking about, you find the right pieces, you start practice, and it pays off. So right around New Year's, December 31st, 43 to January 2nd, 1944. The first amphibious exercise for the American troops takes place at Slapton Sands, Devon. The exercise involves 16,000 assault troops and a rehearsal of the techniques that will be used on D-Day itself. I think it's important for presidents to have served. I really do. If you're going to send our men and women to war, then you should have had to do so yourself or served in some capacity yourself. So we get into rehearsals and stuff like that. With all the spying operations and things, it's a wonder that an exercise this big didn't get picked up by any Germans. Or maybe it did. I don't know. January 1944, with the new year The planning for D-Day takes on a greater urgency. The newly appointed Allied commanders began revising the draft plans that had been drawn up by Cossack. In particular, they decide that the number of troops to be landed on D-Day needs to be considerably increased. Further, naval forces and aircraft must therefore be found to support these additional troops. The target date for D-Day is moved from 1 May to 31 May to allow time for these preparations. Oh, okay. Gotcha. January 1944. Midget. It says it right there. That was the name of them historically. Don't strike me, YouTube. Submarines of the Combined Operations Pilotage Parties, or COP, securely visit the Normandy beaches to take sand samples. This was the thing that was mind-blowing to me. They actually took sand samples. So, to test for different things so that they could make this successful. These are needed to confirm that the sand on certain sections of the chosen land beaches will support the weight of the tanks that the Allies plan to land on D-Day. Deal with it. Eat my nuts, Jacob, but don't actually do it. Yeah, Texas has all kinds of stuff because they're pretty much their own country. Across many parts of Europe, including France, British and U.S. aircraft began to drop weapons and supplies to the resistance. This will enable them to fight back against the occupying Germans. So we started dropping things behind enemy lines. We started surveying all kinds of other stuff. All kinds of other stuff. So, February 1944. Yes, YouTube, they're called midget subs because PC culture wasn't a thing back then. They did not put vertically challenged person into little tubes and launch them through the water. But that would have been awesome. Over a long period, Allied Air Forces, RAF Bomber Command, and the United States Air Army Force 8th Air Force have been making a series of heavy air raids against German cities. German fighter aircraft defend against these attacks, and there are heavy casualties on both sides in this aerial fighting. Many German civilians are also killed. The Germans are less able to replace those losses of airmen and aircraft than the Allies. As a result, by the time D-Day, the German Air Force will not be strong enough to oppose the Allied landings in France. So again, there's this preparation of what's my boxer's name? Bought him home 7 pounds, grew to 85. Wow, damn. So we started some of the most intense and scary battles were actually in the air. Dogfighting was huge. Not Michael Vick dogfighting, like aircraft dogfighting. Huge battles. It was an interesting place, the skies over France and Britain. The chair is against the wall, and John has a long mustache. I feel like that's from something, but I have no idea. Oh yeah, they built them incredibly ridiculously. I'm trying to. Yeah, I guess we could play that in a minute. That's on my beach scene. Yeah, I don't care about that. I don't want to cheapen it by. But anyways, we'll play it in a minute. After months of many months of debate, the Combined Chief Staff, the American and British heads of the armed forces, decided to delay the planned landings in the south of France. These landings, codenamed Operation Dragoon, had originally been planned to take place simultaneously with D-Day so that German troops in France would be attacked from two directions. However, there were insufficient Allied ships available to launch both invasions at once, for the Allied forces' planning and training continues. Huh. Yeah, I mean, they built shit to last, that's for sure. Okay. All right. We'll watch through it. I don't care. So 4 March 1944, the Allied headquarters for the D-Day SHAEF, or Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force, moves from Norfolk House in central London to Bushy Park, giggity, on the western outskirts of the capital. It has grown too large for... All right. It has grown too large for Norfolk House, and the Supreme Allied Commander General Dwight D. Eisenhower felt it necessary to move away from the distractions of London. So this is the air map for Operation Overlord. A color bigot map showing Allied air operations at the time of D-Day. This map shows operations of D-Day itself and the bombing operations throughout northwest Europe, which were presumably carried out beforehand. The map shows anti-U-boat and anti-surface ship patrols, the routes of the air forces carrying airborne forces on D-Day, and the areas patrolled by the tactical and reconnaissance aircraft. Brian Warner worked in the RAF map depot during his national service and rescued this map from material that was about to be destroyed. And thank you for doing so. So this is kind of the plan here. It very much is a smiley face. Don't tiptoe around tulips. That's what it says. A color bigot map. Okay. I appreciate it, buddy. I think... Never mind. I'm not going to make that joke. Yeah, I am. I think there's some of my great-grandfather's sperm on the right-hand side, so by proxy, yes. Allied forces carry out the first of many raids on the French railway network. This is part of the transportation plan, which aims to reduce the Germans' ability to use the French railways to transport troops and military supplies. Time them out. Cat in the hat? Yeah. April 1944. So, I can't actually view that one. The Royal Navy begins a campaign of mine laying off German bases along the Channel coast. These minefields were intended to prevent the fast German motor torpedo boats, also known as E-boats, from coming out to attack Allied shipping. These are the orders for Operation Neptune, the naval part of Operation Overlord. They were issued in thick booklets by Admiral Sir Bertram Ramsay, the Allied naval commander. The Allied commanders and their staff have completed the overall plan for D-Day. Now the less senior officers in charge of the actual units, brigades, regiments, and battalions that will land on the beaches early on D-Day begin to draw up plans. For the vast majority of troops, however, it will be at least a month before they know what or when and where the invasion will take place. Again, you want to keep this kind of thing secret. You don't want to be putting it everywhere. So, a pass issued to Gwendolyn Gorman, giving her permission to enter part of southeast Portsmouth where she lived. So, there were actually cards to be able to get in. You had to have permissions to get in. A 10-mile strip along much of Britain's coastline becomes a restricted zone. Civilians living outside the zone are forbidden from entering it, and those inside cannot leave. So as early as April 1, 1944, they didn't want anyone in, anyone out. They didn't want any chance of their hard work going to waste from some kind of inadvertent or advertent leak. Yeah, mines were terrible. 7 April 1944, General Montgomery presents his plans for the D-Day landings to the British Prime Minister Winston Churchill. Everybody should know that name. The other Allied commanders and the British Chiefs of Staff. So, bringing Britain on board. So, now we're into April. So, we're getting close. Admiral Sir Bertram Ramsay. Uh-oh. Where? What's up, Deval? The Allied Navy commander moves his headquarters to Southwick House, just north of Portsmouth. Next month, many of the other Allied commanders and headquarters will also move into this area. Likely. For real? It's 1 month to D-Day. So we're coming up. I don't think there's many. Yeah, so we'll go through May and then see where we're at. So, the Nazi Party. What? Did you really find it on 4chan? So here's Harling Island. Sketch map, Harling Island. So this one's kind of hard to see, but Hampshire. I know somebody from around there. I think. I don't know where the hell he's from. Exercise Fabius begins at several sites along the coast of southern England. This is the largest series of training exercises so far, and the last before D-Day. In total, 25,000 troops land under a number of different beaches. The U.S. 1st and 29th Divisions at Slapton Sands, the 50th British Division at Hayling Island, the 3rd Canadian Division at Brackensham Bay, and the 3rd British Division at Littlehampton. The exercises last until May 8. The date for D-Day is delayed from May 31 Anywhere. General probably is good, or trying to think of where else. General's probably good. Two periods following the month are identified as suitable based on the tides and the amount of moonlight. 5 through 7 June and 18 through 20 June. 15 May 1944, the final briefing for Allied senior officers takes place at St. Paul's School of London. It is attended by King George the 6th, 4th, 6th, 3rd, and Prime Minister Winston Churchill. Late May. By now, the troops that will land in Normandy on D-Day and immediately afterwards are in camps all along the south coast of England. Before the end of the... No shit. Okay. Before the end of May, the troops are sealed in the camps to guard the secret that the landings are imminent. Vehicles and other equipment are waterproofed to ensure that they can wade through deep water when landing on the beaches. In the last days of May, the troops are briefed on their tasks for D-Day. The majority still do not know exactly where the landings will take place, however. Oh, okay. Hang on one second. So then we go to 31 of May. Hang on, I gotta send one message real quick. Began to load onto ships and landing craft that will take them to Normandy. The size of the landing force means that the embarkation process is spread over 5 days. No. I got in trouble for buying a couple of World War II landmines and a couple of practice ones filled with sand from a museum and bringing it to an orphanage property in Russia. Military came and took them away. Yeah, they're probably not very happy about that. It goes into some really it goes into some detail. I'm deciding how much I wanted to go through it or not. So we'll keep rolling through the timeline and then we'll decide at the end. Deeds he's in Russia too, so it's a little bit different, I assume. So now we get in 31 of May. Shit, I already read that one, didn't I? So now we're into June. So here's what we're gonna do next. Producers sent me a clip. They said it is not something that is terribly offensive to the military community or the veterans. And it's the opening scene from Saving Private Ryan on Omaha Beach. And YouTube, don't strike me, please. Come on, dude. But I guess this is a little graphic. So I've never seen it. So I'm taking their word for it that it's at least semi-YouTube safe. I mean, hell, whatever. I'm over it. So yeah, we're gonna watch. This is about a 9-minute clip, and it's supposedly an accurate representation or a semi-accurate representation of the kind of things that took place. So yeah, we'll We'll watch through this real quick.
Clear the room! 30 seconds! Got me with you!
North side stick, starboard side stick. Move fast and clear those murder holes.
Want to see plenty of beef between men. 5 men is a juicy opportunity. 1 man's a waste of ammo.
Keep the sand out of your weapons. Keep those actions clear. And I'll see you on the beach.
Just hang out. It will be back up in a second. Rumble, we're going to pause and wait for you two to catch up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, sorry about that. Thank you, YouTube, for being total pricks on this day. Yeah, let's get back into it. If it happens again, then we'll talk about it. We'll see. But let's try to see what happens.
What are you guys?
104th Medical Battalion, sir! Here to set up field operations!
Get rid of that crap! Grab your
Oh, they're going to be assholes, even if I pause and add comment. So. Yep. 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 All right. Well, fuck YouTube. Well, I'm gonna wait for YouTube to come back up, and then, we will certainly 100%, 100% keep going with just the other, so give me just 1 minute. Rumble, thanks for hanging out with me and dealing with it. I apologize. Fucking YouTube. So, we should be back up in just a moment. There'll be another cooldown. Unfortunately, we're probably not going to finish it because YouTube is SO. No, fuck, my stream is all the way down now. It's there. Hang on. I'm going to... All right. I already got a love note from YouTube. Okay. So YouTube's basically telling me to go fuck myself and that I can't show anymore. So we will certainly. I am making the executive decision that either this I will, don't worry. Always. So we will definitely be watching this entire movie on Discord one of these Thursdays. I'll talk to my team and see where they want to go, but either way, we'll definitely watch this and give these soldiers and these brave men and women their due. Because I think it's bullshit what YouTube's doing. So with that garbage, if I start playing it again, they're just gonna knock it back down. So, let's finish up to the end of. That's kind of what I'm thinking, but I want to check with my team first. So, we'll see what they say. So, we'll get back to you. So let's finish up. I just decided to make this a more than one. So we're going to go through the end of kind of this timeline. As you can see, we get into some more events. We'll go down to this 6th day of June, and then we'll break it up, and I'll do more shows on them, and they can suck my ass. We'll keep talking about it. If they want to play that game, then it just became more shows. So let's finish this up, and we just made more shows out of it, and we'll watch it, the whole film, all the way through. So 1 June 1944, in the evening, the first part of a poem by Paul Verlaine is broadcast by the BBC. Les Sengos lowers des violins de l'automne, the heavy sobs of autumn's violins. This is a coded message for the French resistance relating to plans to carry out railway sabotage, not a general message to the resistance as sometimes said, and meant that the invasion would take place within 1 month. The Abwehr, German military intelligence, intercepts the message and is also aware of its significance. Also, Eisenhower moves his advanced command post, codenamed Sharpener, to a wood near Southwick House, just north of Portsmouth. This is a base for him when he's working in that area, but he still regularly travels to meetings further afield. June 2nd, 1944. There is a security scare when, for the 5th time in a month, one of the D-Day codenames appears as a crossword clue in the Daily Telegraph. In this case, Neptune, the code for the naval assault crossing. It turns out that it's just a bizarre coincidence. A Surrey School headmaster compiled crosswords months ago. So they thought the Germans might have infiltrated and potentially had been sending code words out covertly. because there was a lot of that going on back and forth where they were moving back and forth with different code names and different things. So the first part of the invasion fleet sets off for Normandy, 2 Royal Navy X-craft, mini subs. They arrive off the Normandy coast the next day and will stay there submerged until D-Day, when they will surface to guide in the first Allied craft at Juno and Sword beaches. The bombardment warships, which will shell the German defenses on D-Day, begin to leave their ports at Scapa Flow, Belfast, and the Clyde. 3 June 1944. Early in the morning, the chief Allied weather forecaster, Captain James Stagg, predicts bad weather for D-Day. At this point, the chosen date is still June 5th. The forecast has not improved by the evening. Low clouds, strong winds, and rough seas. Winston Churchill visits Southampton, Portsmouth, and Southwick House. U.S. airborne troops are briefed for D-Day. They are now told that they are going to Normandy. Most other troops do not yet know. The Allied commanders meet again to consider the weather forecast and decide to postpone the invasion, which would otherwise take place the next day. The ships already at sea are recalled. 0600 on 4 June 1944, Erwin Rommel, the German commander in Normandy, goes to Germany for his wife's birthday, which is on 6 June. He plans to return to France on 8 June and believes that the weather is too bad for the Allies to land in the meantime. 1300, 4 June 1944. An Associated Press report mistakenly announces that the invasion has begun. A teletype operator is practicing and didn't realize the machine is connected. The news is then broadcast around the world until the Associated Press issues a correction 5 minutes later. There's the mainstream media fucking things up. 2100 hours, 4 June 1944. Allied forecasters predict a 36-hour improvement in the weather. It will not be perfect, but should be good enough to allow airborne, and naval operations to take place. It seems possible that D-Day can be on June 6th. Oh, 4:15, 5 June 1944. Yeah, sure, it was an accident and he wasn't German. The Allied commanders meet one final time to hear the weather forecast. The forecast is good, and D-Day will definitely take place on 6 June. A few hours later, Allied junior officers begin to open their sealed orders and find out the location of the landings. Yep. 0600 hours, 5 June 1944. Around now, the first Allied troop convoys begin to leave England's South Coast ports. This is about 24 hours before the first Allied troops will land in Normandy from the sea. Some ships need to set off early due to their slow speed and the distance they are traveling. 20-30 hours, 5 June 1944. General Eisenhower visits the U.S. 101st Airborne Division near Newbury, only hours before they leave for France. 2300 hours on 5 June 1944. Around this time, British and American airborne troops begin taking off from their bases in England. They will be the first Allied soldiers to land in Normandy by glider and parachute, and in the early hours following the morning. And 000, it has begun. It is 6 June 1944. The Allied fleet makes its way across the English Channel. Leading the way are minesweepers, which clear a safe route for other ships. Will the Germans detect that the Allies are on their way? And that sets us up for all hell completely breaking loose. And honestly, I'm kind of now pissed off about it. So, about YouTube's fuckery. So, I would rather go more in detail on the different locations: Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juneau, and Sword, and make this a little bit longer, because I think it's interesting history. And that takes us to 79 years ago today, at least for the Americans, the 6th of June, D-Day. A day where far too many brave Americans, Canadians, and Europeans passed away on the hell that was those beaches. So, it wasn't me, it was Impish. It probably was you. Yes, we should. So yeah, once again, I just wanted to say, there's no short of assholes, especially at YouTube. So I just want to once again say a very special thank you to all the men and women who have served, all the men and women who served faithfully on that day, all the men and women who lost their lives in service to their countries. And just take a moment to remember them. So, as I said, we'll dive deeper into this. That's it. That's exactly right. So many gave their tomorrows for our todays. And we unfortunately have wasted a lot of those tomorrows. And I think that it kind of pisses me off a little bit. So, I appreciate you all. I appreciate you stopping by. And I'm going to play the intro as an outro just because I feel like it's appropriate. I will be off tomorrow. I shouldn't say that. I might not be off tomorrow. And I'll get back to you guys with our movie choice and where we I appreciate it. Oh, that's so cool that you have his medals and stuff. Obviously not that you lost someone, but that's really neat. So yeah, I'm gonna play this out with the intro again. Thank you all for stopping by. I'll get back to you guys with the movie selection, and we'll see where we go. So have a great night. Remember those who have fallen, and we'll catch you guys soon.